The word Tetradrachm puts a smile on the face of any coin collector. A wide, heavy, impressive piece of silver on which the ancient kings and emperors would put their image and their messages on bold displays of artistry. From the earliest Tetradrachm, struck around 500 BC, to the very last, struck around 290 AD, it would be impossible to squeeze so much information in one video, so this will be a new series on the channel. Welcome to the Tetradrachm. The origin of the word Tetradrachm is the composition of two Greek words, tetra, meaning four, and drachma, the main ancient Greek silver denomination. What the coin looked like varied quite a bit between its 800 years of history and vast territories where it was minted. But in general, you can expect it to weigh between 12 and 18 grams, be between 25 and 30 millimeters wide, and have better craftsmanship compared to other coins that circulated with it at its native state. Now, why would that be? For a denomination to be replicated for so long, on so many places, without being wildly altered, means it was very successful. In the case of the Tetradrachm, it was basically because it was very useful for many different things. Considering that on ancient times a drachma was the average daily payment for a laborer, a tetradrachma, worth 4 of these, means it was a coin of considerable value, but not too much value, like a gold coin would have, for example. This resulted on a very popular piece used inside the cities to pay for armies and mercenaries, and as a means of payment for merchants going between countries. Basically, the coin, its format and value, was very versatile. This made the Tetradrachm become what is called a prestige piece, a coin that would travel beyond the borders of its home country in vast numbers. Kings and leaders quickly started to notice this trend, and the coin became an effective way of spreading one's message and name. So let's exemplify this with our first piece. The ancient Greek polis of Akantos on Macedon was located on a pretty privileged position compared to other city-states. It was located on reasonably fertile land, it had access to silver mines, and a good position to make trade from land and from sea. The result is a city that prospered from many different activities, traded with many different parts of the ancient world, and had to make a prestige piece to show off to all of these people so far away. And what a beauty they came up with. We are greeted with this very impactful scene of a lion attacking a bull, a very well-known scene from antiquity, executed on very fine style. There's also a tuna fish on the very lower part of the coin. Generally, the tuna is a symbol of maritime commerce or activities related to the sea. So that could be interpreted as, oh, we're also very competent sailors. So after your attention gets called by that striking scene on the obverse, the reverse then informs you who's responsible for that pretty coin. And we see the word akanteon around the square border, meaning from Akantos. That did not prevent someone from being slightly suspicious about the coin, and he received a test cut to see if the coin was made out of good silver all the way to its core. However, no Tetradrachm is and was as famous and prestigious as the Tetradrachm from Athens, minted from 500 BC all the way to 45 BC. The mines of Laurion, as well as the tribute from its allies, allowed the city of Athens to mint enormous numbers of these, and the coin established itself as the first standard international silver coin of the ancient world. The Athenian Tet can be found on 3 main styles, with transitional versions between them. The archaic style, the rarest, was minted between 500 and 480 BC. The classical style, the most common, was minted between 480 and 165 BC, and the so-called New Style Tetradrachm was minted between 165 and 45 BC. Imagine how well established a coin needs to be so it keeps being minted for over 4 centuries. On one side, we can always see the bust of Athena, the patron goddess of Athens, wearing her decorated helmet. And on the other, we see the owl, her symbolic animal. It's really fascinating to put them side by side and see how the artistic style changed as the centuries passed, but the design intent stayed exactly the same. So let's take a look at one of the earliest examples of the most common type of Athenian owl, the intermediate classical style. This example was minted between 465 and 454 BC, and it's just a pleasure to look at. Basically uncirculated and very well made. Apart from the typical owl on the reverse, it also features an olive branch with a little olive fruit, a very typical Greek plant, and because olive oil was incredibly important basically around the entire Mediterranean. And the letters alpha, theta, epsilon, the abbreviation of Athenaion, or from the Athenians. I also want to show this other example of another intermediate style owl. As the silver from the mines of Laurion and from Athens' allies really started flowing on droves to the city, the mint simply couldn't keep up with so much silver being brought and having to be minted, and the style of the coins began getting a little bit more crude, as we can see in this example. So much so that they are now called mass issue owls. But what I want to show is not that this is a very common owl. Something a lot of coin collectors daydream about is, what have my coins been through back in their past? It's exciting to think your denarius might have been held by a legionary, or that medieval coin you have maybe was used to buy a sword or was in the pocket of a medieval knight. The problem is, we can't really know exactly what happened to our coin. I would make an argument, however, that this worn little owl here is an exception. Look at the marks all over her. These are counter marks. As a coin left its original territory in the hands of some merchant, it would very often be tested for purity with a cut, as we can see here, and it would receive a counter mark, a kind of official stamp attesting this coin is of good metal and it's good to be spent on another country. This is where very thoughtful detective work needs to be done. If you can decipher what each counter mark on a coin means, you can basically track its voyages. Now, this is all theory, but after some of my own research, I found 2 Phoenician letters, Aleph, in one of the marks, making an anagram. And reading through a paper on a Syrian hoard of these coins, one of the common punch marks found on this particular hoard is also present in my example. But what does that mean? This means that from its birthplace in Athens, this coin has traveled and crossed at least 6 different borders. At one time, it was at Phoenicia, and at another point, it must have entered the Persian Empire. Who knows which 4 other destinations it has been to before being lost? Well, of course, this is all a bit of speculation on my part. I'm not an archaeologist nor a historian, but the fact that after 2,500 years, this little owl over here is telling me, hey, I have been to 6 different places. If you can read my language and decipher it, I can tell you firsthand where I've been to, and actually be able to discover 2 of these places is the kind of magic experience only ancient numismatics is able to give us. Another proof of how far the Athenian owls have traveled? They say copy is the best form of flattery, and the sheer number of imitations other states have made from the Athenian owl prove how popular it was. For example, The kingdom of Bactria was composed of some of the furthest conquest of Alexander the Great, around the area of modern Afghanistan and northern India. On the 3rd century BC, instead of trying to establish themselves with their own issues of Tetradrachm, they came up with this, their own little Athenian elk. On the obverse, we can see a clear imitation of the original Athena, with a slightly plumper face, and some of the elements of her helmet simplified, but still of very delicate and elegant style. And the reverse is basically an exact copy of the original, or at least an attempt at doing so. Funnily enough, even though this coin was struck thousands of kilometers from Athens, they did not change the alpha, theta, epsilon from the original design. So a coin struck in modern-day India proudly claims from the Athenians. The design was simply so well known at such a widespread area that even copies were seen with better eyes than new issues of coins with their own unique art. So how about you guys? Have you got any Tetradrachm on your collection? Would you like to collect them or have any particular dream pieces? Let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to drop a like and subscribe because there are a lot of other examples coming soon. So I hope you all like this little taste of those incredible coins. Stay tuned and see you all soon.